because at the end of the day, Stephen's got a legal nose that I wish to explore in the nicest possible way. I mean, it seems to me that to try to copper bottom any kind of legal framework which prevents lawyers from challenging it is absolute hiding to nothing. You know, I know plenty of lawyers. They will challenge anything they can challenge. And this government is not clever enough, it seems to me, to put into law any sort of bill which can be unchallenged, can it?
I mean, look, that's a fair point with anything. And when people think about law, I don't like them thinking about alien or difficult concepts. Think about it like Lego. Every little rule is a piece of Lego, and we're building something out of Lego. And you can build something that looks beautiful and works, or you can build something that doesn't work. And the problem with this bill, and I have absolutely no desire, I don't care about the Rwanda plan at all. But what has happened is the political process has been constant compromise. And so the half of the Tory party that don't want any water carried in a bucket has been compromised with. The half of the Tory party that do want some water carried in a bucket has been compromised with. And the result is the government has got a bill that creates a bucket with a hole in the bottom. And it just doesn't work. You tell me that it doesn't work. It's not going to work.
Right.
This bill, in its current state, is not going to work. I could make it better. I mean, I don't mean to brag, Mike, but I could make it an awful lot better than it is. It's not beyond the wit of man when you're building out, because laws are only invented by men. So and women, you know, humans. There's not beyond the wit of any of us. And you can make this better. It is, I think, absolutely whole beneath the waterline as it is. I just don't think it works.
Yeah.
So all the drama today was just very, very boring for me because I just sat there.
Yeah.
Just imagining with a broadsheet paper just folding
That's pretty much what I concluded at the top of this show, that here we are watching this supposedly high drama and not actually caring about the outcome, because we all know, Rupert, that the outcome means not a tosh piece of interest to anybody who's sensible. And similarly, as Stephen could make this law work, you and I could make the Home Office work. But nobody in government seems to want to do any of that.
No, Mike. I mean, I keep praying that Colonel Pride's going to make a return and purge Parliament, but so far my wishes haven't been, my hopes and prayers haven't been rewarded. But you know my views. I think Parliament, the civil service, the entire structure of our government is now unfit for purpose, and I think, you know, and thank you very much for that very clear rendition. I totally agree. I mean, legally, it's something and nothing. It's like a homunculus. It doesn't work. So I think what we've got to do, Mike, is we've got to have people who are committed to serving the British people and committed to stopping the boats. It's not beyond the wit of man to do it. But if we are going to be worried about upsetting the international elite in doing so, then I don't think we're going to achieve our objectives, and it's going to go on undermining Britain as a place to live, and it's going to be acting clearly against the interests of the British people. And I think they will show that in the next election if somebody doesn't deal with it. So I'm like you. I'm you know, common sense is just, you watch those people tonight, those schoolboys playing around and lawyers enriching themselves. I mean, we are not getting anywhere. And it's refreshing to hear a lawyer explain it very clearly to us. But I'm not a lawyer, but I could quite clearly see that what Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick are saying, they were the people empowered to make this work. If they don't think it's going to work, clearly it isn't going to work. And if we upset a few people internationally in achieving what we need to achieve, then tough, basically.
But that is the problem, isn't it, Stephen? I mean, because we do hear about law internationally quite a lot. You know, you've got one side of the Tory party saying, well, we don't want you to overstep the mark and upset international law or break international law. Rwanda have even thrown their tuppence halfpenny worth in and said, well, we don't want Britain to engage in breaking any international law. But international law seems to be something that we ordinary mortals don't understand either, because it depends on which country you're in as to whether you adhere to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And every single system breaks it. Every single system gets rid of bits of it that they don't like and don't work for them. And if you didn't, then it would be in control of your country. It would be a dictator over you. One of the funnier things, one of the more sort of snorting moments today was an MP who asserted that they would vote for this bill because it didn't break international law. Now, I'm pretty sure that it does actually break some of our international law commitments. I just don't think it does it in a way that works.
Right.
And this is mainly the problem with the bill. It's like, well, we're going to purport to limit injunctive powers, but we're not going to limit final powers. So I will stop you temporarily stopping me, but if you want to permanently stop me, I won't stop you. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, also waving a white paper at some, people smugglers in the Channel who are making £1 million a day and saying, look, what you're doing is against the law, young man. It's hardly going to stop them. It's like going up to the drug dealers in the old Skodas driving around London saying, now, if you don't stop this, young fellow, we're going to arrest you and put you in jail for at least 5 minutes. Are you going to stop?
Yes.
And, of course, they're not going to stop because they don't care about the law anyway.
No, well, there is a myth that has persisted since the mid-90s that law can solve all problems. And if you just pass a law, all the problems will go away. And that's partly why we have far too many laws today. I mean, Mike, I've slipped up. That's a political statement. I shouldn't have said that.
That's all right.
We have an awful lot.
We have
an awful lot. Well, the BBC certainly wouldn't tell me off because they don't know what the rules are. And the reason they don't know what the rules are is because they've got too many rules. So even the rules on impartiality, they've been buried in words. And this is what we've been doing. We've just been passing law after law after law after law, and we've buried any sort of clarity, any sort of meaning. So no, laws alone won't fix this either. There will need to be a proper enforcement process, which nobody is currently proposing. And just to go back to, I've missed the name, I'm so rude, of my fellow panelist. I do apologize, but just to go back to Rupert's point, it is absolutely right. Sorry, my rudeness, I've now forgotten the point I wanted to make. But stress.
Rupert's point about the Home Office? Or Rupert's
about
point
enforcement. It's about the fact that if nobody is willing to enforce laws, they don't exist.
Yes. And
stop running around worrying about with the draft of the laws. If you aren't willing to stand up and have an operational process to enforce them, then they really don't exist. And this is the nonsense that we've got ourselves into at the moment. And it, where we are today and the drama today it's just really a distraction before we get to, a general election.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because at the end of the day, Rupert, if you can't govern, you're not really a government, are you? In the same way, if you can't
as you say, too many laws, too many lawyers. I think that's the problem today.
I think
the law does have a habit of getting above itself every now and again.
I think we.
Look, Mike, I'm consistent on this. If we don't change the way in which we're governed, you only got to look at the way in which, and I do a lot of things in business, in farming, in insurance, and I just watch the regulatory bodies. I wrote a piece the other day about the way in which our regulators have hollowed out our stock market, which is now capitalized at 64% of what it was in 2007. They are hollowing out Britain. HMRC is doing it. The government says one thing, they are basically hunting people down and taxing them into oblivion, so they're not investing. And actually, long-term investment is what drives an economy. So look, there's so much wrong with Britain. And if the British people don't see it, I think they are beginning to see it. I'm very gloomy for the UK economy. I think we're going to get a real downturn. And I'm standing for the Reform Party. I'm in the Reform Shadow Cabinet with some great people. We are real people standing so that real people can vote for an alternative outside the Westminster cesspit. And if they don't, then woe betide them. Don't come crying on my shoulder, because things are not going to be sorted out. And I think this Rwanda plan is a classic example of, fiddling around the edges and not really meaning what you say. And most of them want to go from one radio car to another, spout rubbish, and a week later they've completely forgotten what they've said. Well, that isn't the way that you make a country great.
No.
So
it's not, and it's simply not governing the country. And we simply, at the moment, I would suggest have a government that can't govern. But thank you to both of you, Stephen Barrett and Rupert Lowe. Of course, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.